Yo, 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 no maniacs. Welcome to the show. This is Nomad Live, all bears all the time in conjunction with Sports Zone Chicago and my guy, the Superback, Sean Sierra.
Yay, yay.
We have a full panel, but today the dynamics are going to be different because right now, as you can see, we ran into a few connectivity problems. We were hoping we'd get Eddie Payton on into the show, but right now I think we'll have to suffice to try and get him on a phone call. And he's in a space where I'm led to believe that he doesn't have great connectivity right now, great Wi-Fi. And so, if you guys can bear with us, Chris is trying to clean up that connection in the back as we speak. But we're going to do the best we can, and the other guys are going to come on a little bit later after we ask them a few questions, just because it's just a lot of people. Just going to try to kind of sparse it up a little bit. You guys, hey Sean,
Yo, yo.
I think we are really privileged, man, because as the thumbnail says, greatness always has inspiration. Always has inspiration. It's always somebody that helped propel that player to that kind of greatness. And I believe, and I'm going to ask him particular questions about it, but I believe that started in the home. Like any kind of greatness, starts at home and it builds outward. And so, when I hope Chris can clean up this connection and get him in there because got several things I want to ask him. And welcome to the show, you guys. I appreciate you for being there. I see everybody in there. Plank. I see Brandon in there from Chicago Sports Podcast. Mike Davidson, Jay Grizz, FFG Style, Illinois Jones. Who else is in there? PZ. It's a bunch of people in there. If I didn't mention your name, it's not because I don't love you. I just didn't see it right now. But Sean, what do you think about this guest that we had?
Yeah, but you talked about it starting at the home, and when you got two brothers, two boys, man, there's always competition. Always. All right, then there's always competition. And I was an only child, but I had cousins. All right, I was one of 31st. I have 31st cousins, and so we were in this competition between us. So I can imagine being home with him all the time. And you want to go play? Okay, bring your brother. Okay, then you're playing football, you're playing basketball, then you're playing baseball, then you're running, then you're playing hide and seek, and then you're jumping fences, and you're doing all this stuff. Yeah, and Eddie's the older brother, so yeah, he definitely inspired Walter. Just because usually the dynamic goes, the younger brother always wants to hang out with the older brother. You know what I mean? So because he's probably cooler, he thinks he's cooler, and he just looks up to him. Bottom line. And I just think Eddie Payton is glad to have him on the show today, and we can ask him a whole bunch of questions. But man, growing up in a household, I mean, let's remember, they both were in the NFL at the same time. How crazy is that? It's crazy enough for one guy to make it, to the NFL. But when you have a pair of brothers that make it, man, and we see it often, but we just might not understand how difficult that is. And we see the Long brothers. All right, we see Shannon and Sterling. All right, there's a lot of other brothers, the Watts brothers. There's 3 of them that made it to the NFL, but you just don't understand how difficult it is. And to come from the humble beginnings that they came from, to make it to the top level, to the NFL, is just out and out amazing. And yeah, I can't wait to talk to him and get some answers from him and how it was growing up and how it was. Did he teach Walter that stiff arm? You know what I mean? Or did Walter come up with that on his own? You know what I mean? And just a lot of different questions, not all about football either. And that's the cool part.
I know one thing. I can speak to the little brother looking up to the big brother aspect. I grew up in a household, all my aunts and uncles were like my brothers and sisters. And I was the little dude. And, my uncles never missed an opportunity to tell me, you wouldn't be nothing without us. We got you like that, and that's the only reason you became what you are. I'm like, man, shut up. But it's true. It's absolutely true. I'm nothing without them to I struggle trying to compete with them. It's a level of competition being a little brother in the house, and and all of them are bigger than you. You fighting for attention. You're fighting to and they're all competitive. You know what I mean? It was everything. Any kind of ball. It was always, until you're not the little brother no more. Now, I got up to I was probably 12 or 13 when I knew I can literally pretty much outcompete them all. And that's says a lot, 12, 13-year-old kid. These guys, some of them were 10 years older than me, 10, 12 years older than me, but I had to grow up fast physically, you know what I mean, just to be able to compete with those guys. I can just imagine what it's like because his brother is a hell of an athlete, man. I don't think this guy gets enough love, man. Looking at his film, I mean, Eddie Payton was a stud. And I mean a stud. I mean, I think in given another kind of opportunity, a different opportunity, I think had he not been 5'8", 175 in that era when they handed that ball off 35, 40 times a game,
Mm-hmm.
you gotta think, is this guy a day one starter? Because he's got the physical talent. He's got it, you know what I mean? But I think I don't need nobody to tell me that somebody's a supreme athlete. I can see it. I know it when I see it, and he was a supreme athlete. Absolutely.
Yeah, he was. And Hilton Jones, he had 3 younger brothers, and the youngest 2 were better at sports than us. And part of it has to do with, I mean, and although there's competition, but also let's not forget, like you set the tone, man. You know what I mean, Jones? Like they watched you play. So some of the moves that took you so long to learn and master and become good at, they saw you play. They probably started practicing them early. I mean, that's just how generations go. And the younger players, when we see good moves, man, I can't even tell you how many times I saw playing basketball, and I'd see, Mo Cheeks or Dennis Johnson wasn't a real ball handler, but like I was a big Mo Cheeks fan, and you see him put, this guy put it between the legs, behind the back, going around like, oh snap, what did I do? First time I did it in the house, grandma was whipping my butt. On the second boy, get your ass in the basement. So I went down to the basement and I was practicing, Well, I went out in front until it was dark. Then I had to come in. But I would do all these things and just and see, it's as the time goes on, generations pick up more and more things from their older ones. So it's not a big surprise that your younger brothers were better at sports because they watched you. They watched you and they picked up game a lot earlier, and you may even help them say, hey, watch this. So when you do it with your friends, man, you're gonna blow them away. They can't do this. Like, between the legs, behind the back, boom. You're gonna get them. You might make them fall, and you probably took pleasure out of watching your little brother, smoke these guys. Like, like you can't touch your little brother, and you're like, that's my little brother,
Mm-hmm.
And that's cool. So, I can only imagine how it was with Walter and Eddie, and we're gonna find out a little bit, man. It's gonna be pretty fun because sibling rivalry, and I'm sure I didn't have any brothers. I'm an only child, but I've obviously growing up where I did, just about all my friends did, and they had fights. God forbid you say something, you step to one of them,
Right. Hey,
you got 2 quick, fast, in a hurry, and then second one you might not even see.
I got 6 uncles, man. The one closest to me in age is like 3.5, 4 years older. As weird as that might sound, because my mother had my grandmother had my mother young. But here's the day when everything changed. One day we were at the park, and you're growing up, the little brother, you don't get an inch, man. They are not giving you an inch. They're gonna make you fight and scrap for everything. They gave me nothing. I had to earn it all. And so one day we're in the park. I'm on the bottom side of the basketball court. He's at the top. He gets a steal, and he breaks off, on a straightaway. I see it ahead of time. He got it, took off running, and I came from the other end of the court, all the way down the court, and he went up for the shot, and I came clear out of nowhere. He never saw me coming. I slapped that thing off the backboard, and his homeboy Cedric, who was always at the house every single day, it's like he lived there. He was just like, man, when you learn to jump like that, my uncle was sitting there just flabbergasted. He was just like mouth wide open. I was just like, I just now learned I could jump like that, man. But I wasn't giving him nothing. You know what I mean? I was at that age now. I was pretty much equal in size almost, and I was more athletic. And when I jumped and slapped the jab against that backboard, man, I think everything changed. The dynamics between us changed. From that day forward, he knew that I can't fool with this cat no more. Too much. But that was a special moment for me.
Like, young buck. Same with me. I had an older cousin, He lived over on 26 in like Ridgeway, Christiana, and so I lived on 63rd in California, so I'd have to take the bus. Mind you, I'm 10 years old, dude. You know what I mean? I'm 12 years old, but it didn't matter. You should take the bus. California 26 over, and then we'd go play in an alley. All right, we'd go play in an alley, and man, we would just, and for a while he beat me, but it wasn't by much. And then, like later in the summer, when I finally beat him, like that was the biggest thing. And he was like, damn, cuz. And then after that, like I never lost to him again, so I get it. So I can only, and that was just a cousin that I got to see once a week. I can't even imagine being in a house, like imagine like one of my guys. He's got 5 boys. He's got 5 boys and he's a lineman and they're all linemen. So you can imagine just the competition and the beef, literally and figuratively, that goes on in their house. You know what I mean? That so it's good. I love to hear stories like this because you get, and that's one thing that's taken away from a lot of kids nowadays. No Diddy, Jay Grizz, we got you. Is that it's a competition. Everyone gets told you're the best. Everyone gets a trophy. Everyone has their own personal trainer, and he says that I'm good, and you can't. No, dude, you got to compete. That's life. And it's good to hear stories and see people who do that. And who reach high levels of success. So, yeah, I'm excited to talk to him, man. It's fun, and like you said, once I beat my cousin, big shout out to my cousin Lalito. Man. The dynamic definitely did change. He came home and because he lived with his girlfriend and his wife to be, and he was just like, man, dude, he got me. And after that, it was all, he was like, I don't know if I'm gonna beat him again. He never did. So it was good, man. It was fun.
It is, man. That whole statement about not giving the little brother an inch, everything as far as you think about Walter's tenacity that he played with, the ferocity that he ran the ball with, you could tell that edge came from that space I'm talking about, just never being given an inch, and his brother being a great athlete within his own right. And that they were always gonna compare and argue about who the better. To this day, I'm pretty sure Eddie feels like he's still the better athlete of the two. I bet all kinds of money you couldn't tell him any different that he's not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because he's the big brother, and he learned everything he learned from him. And so, I can remember Brandon Hyatt talking to me about this one day, but this is before I got a chance to talk to him. That he was just like, man, Eddie thinks he's a better athlete than I said, man, do you doubt it? Do you doubt it? I looked at him. I mean, he is athletically, to me, and Chris is gonna want to argue about that. To me, he's more dynamic of an athlete. He's definitely faster than Walter. So I mean, that doesn't, to me, that's not a shock to me that the big brother feels that way, because I can give argument to that case, to be honest with you, man. I think he was a very dynamic athlete.
Yeah, and he returned kicks. Then Walter did too. Let's not get it twisted. Walter did too, and he led the league as a I was about to say as a freshman, as a rookie, in kick returns. But that's that was pretty much what Eddie had hung his hat on. But he was a good kick returner, in the NFL. I vaguely remember him. I don't remember him with all the teams that he played for. I just remember him with the Vikings. Is who I remembered, because it said he played with the Vikings only a couple of years. Oh, 3, 80, 81, and 82.
Vikings.
Started with Cleveland in 77
and Kansas City, I believe.
Yeah, Cleveland 77, Detroit in 77. So he must the Chiefs in 78. And then Minnesota Vikings 80 to 82. So, and that's where I really remember him, because at that point I was in 80, I was 9 years old. So I really, and that's right when we moved to 63rd in California, and they had a football team there. So I really got into the Bears. I really got into sports a lot more than I already was, because I was already playing football. I was already ice skating at that time, but football was my first love. So that's when I remember him, and it had to be pretty cool, man. It had to be pretty cool to have to be like that. And that's one thing that I missed growing up. I mean, I had cousins and I had friends. I mean, we had tons of friends in the neighborhood, but it's nothing like a sibling rivalry to, truly bring out the best in best competition in someone, So Yeah, looking forward to it, dude.
That is to me, that's like the secret sauce to any great competitor is the stuff that happened in the household or in and around the household neighborhood, because we just had a tough neighborhood, man, and it was stud athletes all around me. And so, competing with, I had older brothers, man, basically, and having to compete with them in the house. By the time I'm outside playing with kids my own age, they had no shot. No
Yeah,
shot. It was like playing with little kids, man. It's like, what are you gonna do? Joy, you trying to tackle me? What are you doing?
you gotta hurt yourself, boy.
Man? You really trying to tackle me? All right, I'll let you take me down this time. But that's how it was, man, for me growing up. It was like little kids, they my size and age, no competition for me. I always had to play with bigger, older kids to get some level of competition out of myself, to challenge myself. And so Walter growing up with that dude in the house, man, it is no surprise to me at all that Walter turned out into the kind of guy he did, man. Because I'm telling you, there's some special athletes down there in the South, man. I've seen them
Oh
with my
yeah.
own eyes, man. They're a special breed of people down there, man. And I'm telling you, Walter, he got it honest, man. And I think if we were able to get this guy on the show, and guys, I'm sorry about the connection. Chris is trying his best to get connected with him. But if it does not work, we will have to move around and try to get it going for another day. And I apologize ahead of time if we can't. This kind of stuff happens in podcasts. Not every guest is going to be able to make it with the right connectivity. It might not happen today, it may or may not. So I apologize ahead of time.
You talked about growing up in the neighborhood, man. So my within a 1 block radius. So I was on one, and I had two guys. I had 3 Division I football players on my grammar school team. No, 4. 4 Division I football players on my grammar school team. I mean, you talk about. I mean, we dominated my sixth grade and 8th grade year. That was, and and then at St. Rita, my freshman year went undefeated. My senior year, we lost in the state semis. But man, I lived 61-35. My guy lived 60-50, 55, 60-55 in the next block, and another guy he went to Northern or Western, excuse me, and then the other guy went to my offensive tackle went to Purdue. So it was nuts, all the crazy talent we had. And man, we played football, we played basketball, we played softball, because on the corner of 62nd and Fairfield where we lived, they had 4 sewers on each corner. Well, shit, we didn't need any bases. That's all. So we had schools in the background. So we played softball there all the time. Like, it was just a good time. The competition was great. And just a trip back memory lane, but thinking of how competitive. And then the kids a year younger than us were always looked up to us, and they were good athletes too. And you had to stomp on them, and they were like the little brothers, and it was good. But the class above us they weren't very good athletes. They weren't very good. So we were like the new breed. But it was crazy growing up in that neighborhood. 3 Division I ball players in 2 blocks.
As you can see, I think if you guys can see Chris, I think he's trying to work out the connection with Eddie.
Right? You're on mute, Chris. You might be on mute.
I think he's on the phone, actually.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I think he's on the phone with Eddie right now, trying to screw up the connection the best we can. We might get him in, we might not. Might have to just kind of try this another day. We'll see. Hopefully we can get him in here, but if we can't, man, we'll be fine. We know how to talk football and hold on to a conversation.
But, yeah, we do. I don't know if you saw that comment from Junior. So his son, he just turned 27. So I've known his son before he was even born. When I met Junior, his wife Patty was pregnant with Armando. They call Junior, and they call Armando Lero Junior third. They call him Mondo. So I met Junior when Patty was pregnant with Mondo, and just watched him through the years. He'd never, ever, 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 until he went to school, high school, never played with kids his own age. This kid was a freaking stud baseball player, and it was always 2 to 3 years older than him. You saw he was 12 years old playing with 17 and 18 old kids. And the thing about it is, like, he didn't look like he was 12 or 18, 12 years old. Like, you could tell when, I say look, like on the field, you can tell he was the young kid. And that was the crazy part. And he's at 12 years old, 13 years old, playing with seniors in high school. And you can't tell who the 8th grader is. That's nuts. Yeah, his son was a stud baseball player.
Yeah. Hey, I remember, you know how when you're a kid, man, you don't really see yourself the way everybody else sees you.
No, I agree.
Like other kids, I didn't see myself as this like extremely built up kid and big and strong. Like some like I had recently in the last couple of years, one of the guys that I grew up with, probably a couple houses away from me, he was just like out of nowhere. We were just sitting around at my mom's bar, having one. He was just like, man, you were just bigger and stronger than everybody else all the time. I was like, bigger. I'm like, man, I was a skinny little boy. He was like, no, man, you had like muscles at like 7 years old. I'm just like, really? I ain't never looked in the mirror and saw myself, but that's because you're you. You don't see yourself in the same vein as everybody else. Maybe I was more defined, or I don't know. To them, I look like a brute, to them, but I don't know. Chris, what up?
Hey, sorry about that. I didn't know I was actually on the stage. I didn't say anything wrong, did I?
No, you were muted. We couldn't hear you.
Oh, good. So we're working on getting Eddie on. He just got back to his hotel room, so we're going to see if we can still make this happen. I'm not sure he knows if he's got internet or not. Like Eddie, I think you have internet in your hotel. If you're staying in even a Motel 6, I think.
Yeah, this is about all hotels should have them. So if we can get them hooked up.
Yeah, I asked him if he had an iPhone, and he says, "I think I have an iPhone." So I'm working on it, guys. Don't give up on me yet. All right.
All right. Hang in there, man. We're gonna generate some conversation right quick, Sean.
That's good, man. You two guys, smart guys, y'all can handle it.
How about this? Because Sean,
do what we can.
We had a whole show planned for yesterday. There was a bunch of stuff to talk about. So some of the latest news is let me see. Malik Neighbors is here. Either was here yesterday or here today. One of the two. J.C. Latham, I think, is here today.
Yeah.
For a 30 visit. And here's what you wasn't on Nomad at night when I had J2K on with Brian. We was doing all the conversation, and so this is what I think happened after the owners meeting when Flus and Poe said they was going to break off into those 3 pods, into the offensive tackle pod, the DN pod, and the wide receiver pod, and come up with who they thought were the better players. And what I think happened was, because you can definitely see right after that, you would imagine that's going to take them a couple, 2-3 days to suss that out. Right after that, they started bringing in who I think are some of the top 3 players at each position. They brought in Dallas Turner, Liatu Latu. I'm not sure if Jared Verse. I don't think Jared Verse has come here, but it might have been another defensive end they brought in. They brought in Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, and Romo Dunze. They also brought in, and this tells you, I think, what they're thinking. I think it sends a signal that maybe they don't think they can get this offensive tackle early. I think J.C. Latham may make the first round, but it's possible that he's going to end up sliding to the second. I definitely don't think another guy that they brought in, Tyler Guyton, is going in the first round. I definitely think he's a second.
Safety?
No, he's no tackle.
Who's the safety? Tyler
Who's
Guyton. The kid from who's the safety from St. Charles North?
Oh, that's Nubin, I think.
Tyler Nubin.
I don't know if they use a 30 on him.
No, I didn't know, but that's who I was thinking.
Yeah, but in succession, those are the guys that they brought in, the guys that they think they can get at 9, and I think the offensive tackles looks like, based on the guys that they brought in, somebody they think they can get in the second round sometime. And so what does that? I mean, that's what it signals to me.
Well, hey Chris, I just sent you. I know you're working on him, but I just sent you a pic. There's I got a screenshot, the Bears 30 visits tracker. So when you get that, if you want to put that up, and we can go over some of the people the people on that list, and we don't have to speculate anymore. We can kind of go through them, but as of right now, like it's
Might have to get
you know,
Kid to do that. Chris ain't gonna be able to do it.
yeah, okay. Yeah, so you had Caleb, Dylan Lowry. They had tons of wide receivers. But then Tyler Guyton talked about Kyrian, the kid from Yale. They brought him in. Zach Frazier, Trevor Keegan from Michigan, Graham Barton from Duke.
Ruben is local. He doesn't need a 30.
Right, that's true. So I don't know, man. I think that I don't know. I don't think they're taking a tackle. I mean, anytime at 9, I definitely think they're taking it later. But who would I want? Who would I? You know what I mean? Like, I certainly I'm okay with Braxton Jones. I'm still okay with him. Again, he's not a gold jacket winner. He's not a Pro Bowler. He's an average left tackle at his ceiling, and he's getting there. He's not there yet. He's getting there. I think he's right around, maybe a little below average to average right now, and he can be a little better, which is fine. You know, but bringing guys like that in, like Tyler Guyton and Kieran and J.C. Latham, bringing those guys in, it if they're available when they at their, I shouldn't say at their price, but when they want, there's nothing wrong with competition, man. There's nothing. And I think he realizes, I think he understands that the offensive line has been in flux for a long, long, long time. Hell, even last year they were in flux. And it wasn't even it wasn't even due to injury. It was Nate Davis had the family situation. All right, that offensive line that they wanted to start game 1 didn't start till like week 9 or 10. Man, week 9 or 10, like you know what I mean? And then you got to move people around, and then you decided to move Tevin to the right side. And that weakened up the left guard, and strengthened the right guard, but it weakened the left guard. So it was, all the things, I think, and Poles being a former offensive lineman understands that, which is why he which is why he signed some in free agency. Okay. And I think he's going to bring in some more. You just can't, you can never, ever, ever have, hell, how many offensive linemen did he bring? Has he brought in for a visit or, for tryouts on Tuesdays? You know what I mean? Like, he's trying, he's looking for something to stick because he understands it. So
I think it's all about where they think they can get a guy. Do they think they can hang around in the second, late first, second? I think in order to get one of those studs, I think they'll be there as late as 2. But PZ, to answer your question real quick, do I think BT is too early to draft that BTR, Brian Thomas Jr., BTJ rather? No, I don't think. I think, in fact, if it's up to me, I think I'm drafting him ahead of Romo Dunze. I think he's got more upside than Romo Dunze. If it's a choice, if it's up to me and I see those 2 players at 9, I'm definitely taking Brian Thomas Jr. because I think his upside is much more explosive. Go ahead,
gentlemen. Do you guys hear me?
Can.
Yeah.
Okay, I got Mr. Eddie Payton on the phone. Let's see if you go ahead and say hi to him, Eddie.
How you doing, guys?
Eddie, how are you, man?
Hey, Eddie.
Can't complain at all.
All right. Hopefully you guys in the chat can hear him. Eddie, thank you for coming on the show, man. Sorry about the technical difficulties, man, but we definitely appreciate you being here with us.
Well, I don't know if it's you guys or me.
Oh, it's okay. It doesn't matter at this point. We just pleased and privileged to have you on here and just happy to hear your voice, man.
Well, you know what? I had such a great time last time. I had an opportunity to be on the show. I was looking forward to coming back on.
Man, you're a breath of fresh air. I just want you to know that right off the top. And I ain't gonna waste a whole bunch of your time, man. And I'm not gonna be like your typical interviewer that would ask you a million questions about Walter, because I know you're pretty used to that. I think in your own right, and I was telling Sean here, one of my co-hosts, that I know special athlete when I see it. I don't need anybody to tell me. I don't need anybody to describe it to me. I know it when I see it. And I think you and your athleticism and your ability, I feel like you're one of the more underappreciated football players to ever play the game. And I studied you. I studied you like I would study any other football player. And I think that what you brought to the table, given another time and space and opportunity, I think you should have been a starting running back in the NFL. But how much of that bothered you during your career, not getting those opportunities to start as a starting running back in the NFL?
Well, nothing ever bothers me, and it never ceases to amaze me that I get into a 30-minute conversation about the greatest running back that I ever taught how to run on a daily basis. So I'm not offended if you ask me about Walter. After all, I taught him all he knew.
Hey, you know what? It's interesting you say that, because if you had heard the entire show before you came in here, it was about where he got his inspiration. And I said, and growing up, me being a football player that I am, and I grew up in a household with my uncles were my older brothers, and they never gave me an inch. And I know that's where Walter must have got his inspiration and his level of competition, is because you probably never gave him an inch, did you?
No, but again, we were roommates most of our lives. We lived in the same bedroom when we were in high school, in elementary school. When we got to college at Jackson State, we were roommates for 2 years. So, I really am really grateful for the opportunity to be in the room and watch his development and watch him absorb all the things that were happening around him.
Okay. You got anything, Sean, you want to say?
Yeah. So talk to us, like, how growing up in that household, like, how competitive were you on a daily basis? Was it, mama calls to come in to eat, I'm gonna beat you. First one home gets more food, or how competitive? Give me some of the daily stuff that you would compete with, because I know I had little cousins that would always try and compete with me. And I have a lot of friends who grew up with brothers, and they would talk about it, but never to the level of this, where you had two guys in the NFL on a daily basis. What did you guys compete for? Was it everything? And if it was, like, give us an example of what it is, as silly and minute and crazy as it may be. What did you guys compete for?
Well, basically, the last one at the dinner table ate the least. Other than that, we shared everything. We worked together on just about everything we did. But just like any other brothers, there's always a level of competition between you. If nobody says anything, or somebody makes a joke about next time, you cheated.
Oh, so Eddie is talking about them competing with each other, and one talking about the other one cheated. Probably Walter talking about Eddie, but I'm just, because your voice is a little bit low right now. I got a question for you, man, because watching your film, one of the things that stuck out to me was you carried the ball in one hand at time during your returns. Do you think Walter picked that up from you?
Well, I would like to take all the credit that's due for everything that he was able to do later on. But you look at it and be perfectly honest. When the good Lord looked down and said, "I need to make me a football player," he chose Walker. He chose Walker. So what he got naturally, and it was a gift. And when you see other great athletes, the great running backs, you realize that they have it. And it is the gift they got from the man upstairs.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what about that? What about that famous hill that Walter ran on all the time? Did that start and tell me about a little bit about Columbia and how that was growing up? Did that start back in Columbia, running hills and doing that kind of thing?
No, we were running away from work in Columbia. That started when we got to Jackson State in the off season.
Okay.
We had a head coach who believed that, he who gets tired gets beat. But we worked to stay in great
That's good. Hey, one of our guests wants to know: did you teach Walter how to dance? Hey, you know what, Eddie? I'm curious to know because I wasn't sure. Did you play Canadian ball before you played in the NFL, or vice versa?
I did. I played at Ottawa the first year out of college. I was so disappointed that I wasn't drafted in the first 2 or 3 rounds after leading the Southwestern Athletic Conference in rushing and scoring. And it wasn't a mistake. Looking at it in hindsight, if I had to do it over again, I'd probably do it the same way because it was a great experience.
So even given.
Hey, real quick, what years did you play in Ottawa, Eddie?
I played in Ottawa in 74, 75, I think.
Holy smokes, that's crazy. That's like I wasn't even born yet. That's where I'm at.
Well, you're talking to a Canadian that just asked you that question. He lives in Ottawa now, and he heard Canada and Ottawa, and he jumped in there.
You heard a Canadian, eh?
Hey. You were a Rough Rider, Eddie? Were you a Rough Rider?
I was a Rough Rider.
Wow. Crazy. That's crazy. So just a little history. So that team has changed names, I believe, 4 times. So since you were here, that's it, right? So when you were here, it was Rough Riders. They changed to the Renegades. They were the Renegades when Kerry Joseph was here. And then now it's the Red Blacks. So 3 times since you were here. Crazy. I had no idea.
That's a great level of football. I enjoyed it. I learned a lot. I got a chance to play with a couple of great college football players, and the experience I got up there helped me get the 8 years in the NFL.
Wow. All right. I mean,
I'll leave y'all to it, man.
Okay. Because Eddie, you talked about a little briefly about not being drafted. Did that offer more fuel to your fire, just not being drafted, knowing that you felt like you deserved to be a drafted football player? Did that add fuel to your fire?
It really did, and what inspired me more than that, some of the guys who were drafted that I played against in college,
mm-hmm.
and how well they were doing, I knew they couldn't tie my shoes. I need to let them know what they let get away, and that's why I went to Canada.
Eddie, one of the things I wanted to ask you about was one of the things that you did in the pros that Walter, I don't believe, did was return a kickoff and a punt for a touchdown in the same game. Is that correct?
Well, no. I think there's only 3 of us that's ever done that. Walter wasn't with them.
Right. And that was when you were with the Lions, am I correct?
With Detroit, yes.
Okay.
I am curious, man.
Great group of guys from the special team who believed and took a lot of pride in accomplishing their assignment, and they made it pretty easy. The rest is me going to get missing run.
That's incredible.
Eddie, I don't think your casual football fan, casual guy that sits on the couch every Sunday and watches the game, doesn't really appreciate, and I have a little bit of an understanding. I played in college, how tough it is to play special teams. Just to play, special teams in your era when there wasn't a whole lot of rules and restrictions as they are now. If you could tell me a little bit about how tough it was and what kind of mindset you have to have playing special teams, and it was violent. There's no other way to describe it. It was violent and it was dangerous, and it still is, but not to the level it was when you were playing that position. Could you tell people how tough mentally and physically that you have to be playing special teams?
Well, again, when I got to Detroit, the thing was the more you can do, the longer you can stay.
Right.
If you notice, a lot of guys that made all pro ended up starting in special teams that were working at the first and second years. So, it's something we all had to basically had to do. And the ones who took pride in their assignments were the ones that moved up to the first defense, in the all pros and whatever.
Eddie, I think you're a remarkable athlete. I know you're a remarkable athlete, and I'm talking about in present tense. So long as you're here, you're still that incredible athlete. And I found out somewhere that you lettered in high school, even as a tennis player, and you were drafted out of high school as a baseball player, play professional. Is that true?
Yeah.
Did we lose him?
No, he said yeah.
I heard the part about being all-state in basketball, all-state in track, all-state in football, and being drafted in the fifth round by the major league. So, Walter and I never argued about who's the best athlete. We argued about who's the best football player. But as far as who's the best athlete, my resume speaks for itself.
You know what, Eddie? I'm glad you said it, because I look at it in the same way. I mean, it's not hard to believe that you're the better athlete than Walter. I believe just like you said. I don't think Walter would probably argue that. I think you're a remarkable athlete, and the fact that you lettered and did all of that, even in tennis, is incredible. I mean, absolutely incredible, and hats off to you for that. But I also found out somewhere, Eddie, that Walter, I think this would be astounding for people to learn. You said that on another podcast I saw that Walter never made more than $200,000 as a professional.
That's right.
That's correct?
That's correct.
Wow. I mean,
Wow.
I think the NFL owes Walter a debt, and his family a debt of gratitude, and I think a financial one. I think the NFL kind of rose on the backs of people like Walter Payton, and he would be the epitome of it. And for him not to make more than $200,000 a year, I think is a travesty. But wow, when I heard you say that, I was flabbergasted, because it never crossed my mind during that time that he only made a maximum of $200,000 as a football player.
Wow.
Well, again, there was a lot of guys playing in the league during that time period that did a lot of Walter to be able to do the things that he was doing, and a lot of them were making $35,000, which was the league minimum.
Wow.
So, we've come a long way financially, but we came on the backs of the guys who were making $30,000, $40,000, and $100,000 a year, and carrying teams on their backs.
Wow. Eddie, you got drafted by the major leagues. What position did you play in baseball?
I was drafted as a shortstop. Fifth round of operator.
I can see that. I can actually see that. His body type, I can see shortstop written all over.
How are you at the plate?
When I got drafted, I could put it in play.
Were you a base stealer? Because back then people who played especially baseball a lot of times, and being the athlete that you were, they stole bases a lot. I mean, you look back at the Ricky Henderson days and the Lou Brock days and the Ozzie Smith days. It was nothing to steal bases. Were you a good base stealer as well?
I thought I was. You pick up tennis, you get a good job, and you run out here.
Wow. Hey, I got one more question for you. Now I'm gonna bring a couple of more of the co-hosts in. They wanna ask you a couple of questions, if you don't mind. If you still got a little bit of time.
I got plenty of time now.
Okay, okay, good.
I get into the great room. I'm packed up, and the supposed initiative is still in that meeting.
Okay.
And Eddie, when you came to Detroit, Bill Belichick was on the coaching staff, wasn't he?
Yeah, but you know what he was when I say this out of great respect, but he was the guy who would go get the film,
Uh-huh.
and he was the guy who would go get the coffee for the other coaches,
Okay.
and I mean basically, and I respect everything that Coach Belichick has been able to accomplish in his career,
Mhm.
but he was awful.
Yeah. Well, a lot of guys start out that way, but I mean that's been almost 50 years ago. So uh, he's come he did kind of good for himself since then.
He's come up.
Yeah, he's
All
come
right.
way up.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
I got.
And, you know, one thing you learn in sports, you don't ever look down on anybody because whoever you're looking down on, you may need him one day. He may be your head coach or your GM.
Sure.
Okay.
You do your job and respect the people who are above you and tell you what to do, whether you agree with or not.
Now, was Monty Clark your head coach when you came in?
Yes, he was.
Okay, that's what I thought. I've been a Bears fan since 1969. I mean, so I'm familiar with. I was a big NFL guy, and I remember when your brother was drafted. I mean, a lot of people don't remember he led the NFL in kickoff returns his rookie year.
He never returned one for a touchdown.
Right.
He only returned the league minimum to qualify.
Right. But
we talk about that. We used to talk about that all the time. You get to the real speed, ain't no telling what you did.
right. Well, yeah, like I said, he came up a little bit after that too, though.
He did all right.
Yeah. His career finished out pretty good. Hey, Eddie, one of our guys wanted to know how difficult was that decision when the Blitz formed, and allegedly they offered him. Was it true they offered him about $6 million, a 3-year deal for like $6 million? And why do you think he? Because obviously he never played for the Blitz. Why do you think he turned that down? Was that the contract, or what was it? And why do you think he turned it down?
You know what? And I say this in all seriousness. There's not many African American athletes or Caucasian athletes now who would turn that kind of money down, and I don't think he did. I think it was a lot of things tied into that, and a lot of it was just after.
Wow.
I don't think nothing was there on paper.
Well, I got this last question I want to ask you before I bring a couple guys in. Did you get a chance to play on Veteran Stadium because I got a chance to walk on some old AstroTurf right after a place built a new stadium, and I think I was like, oh my Lord, they was actually playing football on this. How bad actually was that turf, and how bad were those rug burns after games?
Well, you had the experience, and I would trade to you because you know how to root words together so they come out really well. But me, I probably say you'll tell the truth as a piece of SHI, you know. It was not the only one like that until they started with the AstroTurf and moved indoors.
Wow. We had a Bears player that blew out 2 knees at once on that very field.
Mm-hmm.
That was, but we got Keith. Are you there?
Yeah.
Bishop, are you there? Did you
Yeah,
have
I'm
something
here.
you wanted to ask Eddie?
No, actually, Sean asked the question for me because I was curious about that because I remember back when the Blitz had offered that contract to him, and I found it astounding that he would turn down $6 million back then when guys wasn't getting paid that much. So I'm glad he cleared that up. Thank you very much, Eddie. Do appreciate it.
You got anything, kids?
Honestly, man, it's all I have for you right now, and everybody else kind of touched on everything. Was just you must have struggled on that Rough Riders team, man. That Rough Riders team was a problem. Oh, and like I say stuff like this because as a kid, we used to get tickets to go to watch them play all the time. I'm born in '76, so you might have been gone by then. But man, there were times when I'd go watch football with my dad, and we'd be sitting in the stands and we'd be looking, and like the entire crowd is wearing paper bags, and like I'll never forget it because I looked up at my dad and I was like, "Daddy, why's everybody wearing paper bags?" And he said, "Son, man, you know, it's because they're not a very good team, son. Nobody wants to be seen at this football game. Nobody wants to show their face. I guess they bought tickets or were given tickets, much like us. And here they are representing with hot, like, you know, pull your paper bag back, eat your hot dog, put your paper bag back there. It was super funny, and you know, traditionally that team has just been hard times across the board. But it's funny. I was surprised to hear that you were in any way connected to the Rough Riders and Otto. It's awesome. That's awesome stuff for me. I had no clue, Eddie. I had no idea.
Hey, Eddie, I do have one question for you. Who was the biggest prankster between you and Walter?
Walter was a jokester. I, on the other hand, was the master prankster. on Walter of all time. He fashioned himself as a tennis player. And we were going to Las Vegas to play in that NFL deal they had out there. And I was leaving from Chicago, so I was packing his tennis rackets. So I packed his tennis racket. He had 2 hounds hanging outside his bag that he carried on his shoulder and walked out there. When he got to the tennis court, he realized those things that looked like tennis rackets were actually handball rackets, racquetball rackets.
Oh no.
I just glad my mother couldn't hear the things that he called me.
Hey, Eddie, I did want to mention and ask you about, I guess you were the head golf coach at Jackson State for like 30 years. Am I right?
Won 27 championships, swag championships in 30 years, and became the first historically black college to qualify for the NCAA Division I National Golf Championship.
And see, I that was something that I didn't realize. You know, I tried to do a little homework before I knew we had you on, but I did not realize that you had achieved that much success as the head golf coach. I mean, obviously you still play today a lot.
Well, if I can get to a side, I'll play.
Okay.
Hey, Eddie. Here's what I think.
No, I've never set foot on a golf course.
Eddie, here's what I think.
But like the marriage thing, there's still time.
You never too old. As you get old, the courses get easier because you move up.
Right.
You move up.
Right. If people you can ride around in the golf carts. They don't talk about you.
Makes a difference.
Yes, sir.
Eddie, what about because you?
Because I don't care how old you are, if you got any type of golf game whatsoever, you can always find somebody who thinks just like you who is worse.
Well, that's my hope. That would be my only hope for winning. Find somebody who's worse.
Take your poison.
Go ahead, Nomad.
No, all I wanted to say to him was, you played in the SWAC. You and Walter played in the SWAC, and you competed against SWAC and MEAC players. You know, HBCUs. I don't think people really, if you don't mind telling people, really understand the amount of absolute dogs that you played with. There's some real serious athletes that came out of the SWAC and MEAC during your era. I don't think people are familiar with. They will be when you say the names, I'm sure. But there were some absolute studs coming out of there, and that just didn't get enough attention. You want to name a few?
The name that you could give them would be the name that people recognize that came out of the SWAC and not only exemplified what the SWAC represents. When they got to the NFL, they went to the top and Lim Barney, Jackie Slater, Robert Brazil, Doug Williams, Ernie Ladd, all those guys.
Big Cat.
They were just good football players in the SWAC. They were great football players in general.
Yeah. Walter and Jackie played together, didn't they?
Me, Walter, Jackie, and Brazil all played together, along with Jerome Barker and Richard Castor.
Rich Castor, New York Jets.
Played wide receiver for the
Jets, yeah, with the Jets. That's right. Great wide receiver.
We had 4 or 5 guys that went in the first 2 or 3 rounds every year. It's just amazing. And every week we played the Gremlins, the Prairie View, the Texas Southern Movement teams who had the same makeup as we did, the same amount of great guys. Kenny Burroughs and all those, you don't remember Kenny.
Oh, Kenny Burroughs with Houston Oilers.
We had a double up foot when I got Harold Jackson.
Yep.
You just go down the list, and there's who's who did something once they got to the NFL.
Yes.
Chris, you want to repeat some of the names that he just mentioned?
He mentioned Harold Jackson, Robert Brazil, Jackie Slater, whom they played with at Jackson State. Lim Barney, which you played with him in Detroit too, didn't you?
I did. I lived with Lim.
Yeah.
Didn't have nowhere to live. He had a friend that gave Lim a summer home. Lim gave me a summer home.
Oh, that's cool. Anytime you say that, somebody gave me a home, that's pretty cool. Lim Barney was a great cornerback with Detroit for you young guys that don't remember.
He was an even better person than he was a football player.
Lim Barney.
Everybody in the chat keeps repeating, you sound like Walter. No, Walter sounded like him.
Hey, Eddie, so coming out of high school, obviously you're an athlete extraordinaire. What other schools recruited you? Any big-time D1 schools, and why did you choose Jackson State?
Well, you got to realize when I came out of high school, Jackson State Alcorn and Grambling was the top of the food chain. And that was basically just after integration.
Yeah.
There's some kids in the SEC, including Alabama, that were all white. So
Right.
We went to where we could get educated and get an opportunity to show that we could play.
Where did
That's not a knock. That's just the way it is. I remember when Sam Cunningham at Southern Cal changed Bear Brown idea about who to recruit.
Sam Bam Cunningham.
He scored 4 against Alabama when they played Southern Cal. And
Yeah.
he stood up in front of his whole alumni and said, boys, the change is coming. And if we don't change with them, we're going to get left behind. So y'all need to either get on board or get out the way.
I remember that story. Yeah, Bear Bryant took them to USC, and they got destroyed. And then Alabama got destroyed, and that's when they stay integrated to, like, you want us to keep winning football games. Like you said, you better change with the times or get left behind. I remember that story.
We only wish that he had done it because it was the right thing instead of doing it just to continue to be successful. So.
Well, I did it, and I said it. I can only think of one man in history that done the right thing because it was the right thing to do, not because of what he was going to get out of it.
Right.
And you know, if it wasn't for that hit on Calvary, we would never know everything he did.
That's it, man. Hey, that's not. Now, some of these guys on here need to hear that, man.
You still working with them guys?
I'm working with them, man. All right, I appreciate it. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I mean the pure. Look, I didn't mean to interrupt you. But anybody got any? We got any chat questions for him directly, kids? That we can ask him while we still got him here. I saw some earlier. We might have asked him already. Yeah, but hey, man, Eddie,
Eddie, do you keep in pretty good contact with Jared?
I talked to him last week.
Okay.
You know, he's a young man trying to get his foot in the door in business.
Yeah.
And he's got a young wife and a son, so you know his plate's full.
Right. Actually, Sean, one of our co-hosts, I believe him and Eddie. I'm sorry, him and Jared are pretty good friends. Is that right, Sean?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Sean. Man, hey, we combined our forces. We combined our forces. Him and Nomad. We got the superpowers now. We appreciate it, man.
Thanks, Eddie.
You played, Eddie. You played in the era when you know you can have like defensive linemen can come off. They had padded hands, padded forearms, and they could club you with that. And during that era that you played in, and watching stuff on film, you know it's a good experience. But you actually played in it and it was vicious, man. It was vicious compared to the game. Now it's kind of dialed back, but you played against guys that had taped up hands and padded up forearms. What was that like?
Well, you know what you were dealing with before you went out there because your teammates were doing the same thing.
Right.
I mean, it wasn't like one thing you had to plan on doing it. Everybody was doing the same thing.
They called it the forearm shiver, didn't they, Eddie? Deacon Jones was the master, wasn't he?
Deacon, they talk about the head slap, but Deacon wasn't slapping with a hand. He was slapping him with his forearm, and that was padded up with wrenches and crowbars.
Oh, man.
Yeah, during that era, the time we played in, and what we had to do to show people what we could do. We played because of, and we were successful because of, not in spite of.
Right.
Wow.
Just, you know, a great athlete, will always be a great athlete, and cream rises to the top.
That's right.
If you ever visited, had an opportunity to go see historically black college football game, whether it be swag, MEAC, or whatever. I mean, you saw some of the guys who loved the game and gave it everything they had every time they got a chance.
Right.
So Eddie, CTE.
The opportunity to play against all those people and with some of those people.
Right.
So Eddie, CTE is a big deal right now in today's NFL.
Say it again, Nomad. I'm sure he heard you.
CTE is a big deal in today's NFL. There's a big lawsuit out there. There is, any residuals of playing football. I don't think the NFL does anywhere near in the ballpark of a good job of taking care of their own ex-NFL players and the kind of beating that they put on their bodies. I don't think the NFL has done near enough. It's not even in the ballpark, in my estimation, of taking care of, the pension plans and health care of the players that played the game and carried this league on their backs. What do you think about today's NFL, the CTE, and are you dealing with any residual effects of playing the game?
than it was when we were playing in the 70s. And it's better today because there's more exposure. The people can see what they're not doing, so now they're forced to do more. Now, are they doing enough? No, they're not. Because if you go in with a claim, they may hold your claim down 5 or 6 years until you die.
Wow.
The reason a lot of guys haven't been compensated for what they endured while participating in the NFL is because the NFL is not saying they're not injured or they're not damaged. They're just hoping that they don't live long enough where they have to pay us. And that's just my opinion.
Right.
You look at the guys, when the average life expectancy for a normal American is 72.3 years, and the average life expectancy for an NFL player who played between the 60s and the 90s is 64. What does that tell you?
That tells me everything.
Yep. Trying to hold out.
And when you get out, if you don't have enough years in, I mean, you don't even receive enough in retirement to pay your bill.
Well, the one thing we realize about the NFL, and it's kind of sad to say, they're in the business of making money and saving money. And so it's just a shame that they can't invest a lot more of this golden goose into the players that help build the game. It's just it's sad. It says a lot about the ownership of the NFL.
Well, I agree with you 100%. But you look at it and you look at yourself. I look at myself all the time. All I was a replaceable part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, for what they were paying me, they could get 10 other people who could do just about what I did to play for less.
Yeah.
Which means they would make more money.
Right.
And the NFL, bless their soul, I love them, but the owners share equally in revenue.
Yeah.
You don't have to win to get paid.
Yep.
Yep.
You look at all of that and you realize it's not set up for the guys who make the money. It's not even set up for the people who pay the money. It's set up for the guys who own the teams.
How do you feel about the CBA's leadership and how they're trying to change some of those things? Do you think they're doing a good job? Do you think they need new leadership, or what's your thoughts on that?
I think it's far too late for the majority of guys who've gone through the league who are out now.
Yeah,
You have to tip your cap to what they're trying to do. But, that's like closing the gate with all horses out.
Yeah. Yeah, every time I see Earl Campbell being pushed around in a wheelchair, it really breaks my heart knowing just the type of player he was. I mean, he was just brutal, but I mean, to see him in that condition now is rather heartbreaking.
It is. And you remember Earl, he didn't dodge nobody.
No.
He ran over everybody, got in the way.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
oh
yeah.
I believe.
Some people say it was the same way.
Oh yeah.
I mean, again, once they're out, they're out. Once you're in, you're in. When you're out, you're out. I mean, the reason most guys don't complain because we love the game, and deep in our heart, we still feel that we have something to give the game, and that the game respects us.
Well, yeah. In the end, I mean, that's the business, and then there's the game, and you do it all for the love of the game. I mean, I know guys back then did. A lot of guys want to get paid now and don't love the game as much, but you had to back then because I know it's just like the NBA. A lot of guys worked in the off season, which is unheard of now.
Yeah, a lot of NFL guys would leave after the last game and go to their other job.
Right.
So it is what it is. It's the greatest game in the world played by some of the greatest athletes that ever played.
This is true.
It's a dehumanizing, great, mind of you being there and you said, this is what we're doing.
Mm.
But that same guy that was blocking for it for all them years that's got this bad lip and have trouble remembering what day it is, he can't get a ticket.
Yeah.
You know, Eddie, I just want to say this, man, because we're about out of time here, but I want to say this to you personally. Number one, I've been down on the Jackson State campus, and I know just by being I was there 15 to 30 minutes before I knew what kind of man Eddie Payton actually is being on that campus. So I did. Your reputation precedes you. I mean, it comes across that you're an even better man than you were an athlete. And when I got down there and I heard all the stuff that people said that you did for people down there, it amazes me now that I'm sitting here talking to you, because I found that out years ago. And so I just want to take my hat off to you as a man first, and an athlete second, just the kind of man that you came out to be. And the fact that you were able to withstand the battles of this game that is so vicious and so hard on the human body, to still have your mind today to talk about it, because not everybody can do that as articulate as you doing it right now. And so I just want to appreciate you as a man first, and as the great athlete that you deserve to be called. And you were a great athlete. And I just want to say that to you first, man, before we get. You're welcome, man. I think you deserve it.
Just like anybody who ever went through the NFL and played one minute of live football, they were just blessed.
Yeah.
Blessed beyond belief, and it's something that will warm them up in the latter parts in the fourth quarter of their life when they're sitting around watching. So I used to do that.
Eddie, I just saw a good question from one of the guys in the chat. He said, how do you feel about Deion Sanders and his time at Jackson State?
I hadn't studied enough to give an honest opinion that I don't think would be unbiased.
Okay. That's fair.
I appreciate that, man. Hey, anybody got any last questions? We're going to let Eddie get out of here. We're going to get ready to wrap up the show. But if anybody got any words for Eddie before we get out of here, feel free.
Only thing I have to say is thank you very much for your time, Eddie. It was a pleasure to listen to you and hearing the great stories and everything. And once again, just God bless you and thank you very much.
I appreciate that. I mean, I make time for the best station in the nation.
All right. Hey, Eddie, man, it's been a pleasure, absolute pleasure. I can't thank you enough for coming on, man. I meant every word I said. I appreciate you as a man and the human being that you are. And I really respect the athlete that you turned out to be. You and your brother, man, I think you're a treasure. I think your brother was a treasure. And I just appreciate having made acquaintances with you, man. I really do appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate what you guys do for football, the game, the people who play the game, and the people who listen to the game. Yeah. You guys are not selling SUVs. You're telling the truth. And you're letting people say what's on their mind. And if nobody else out there on the air is doing what you guys are doing. Keep up the good work, and if I can ever help you or be of any assistance to you, I only charge $250,000 a day.
Okay. Well, Nomad gonna get that check out to you. Hey, Eddie, this man. In my heart, the Payton name is royalty. I've been a Payton fan since 1974, and your brother was just an idol to me growing up.
I tell you what, you have my email.
I got it.
Eddie, if that check is made of rubber, don't be angry, okay?
He's got a guy.
All right, Eddie. Before. I'll tell you what, Eddie, you hold on. Don't hang up quite yet. I'm going to take us out of the stream. And again, we thank you for being on the show. Yeah, guys, I know my guys appreciate you. So don't hang up just yet, but we're going to let you get out of here, okay?
Hey, we love you. Hey, we love you, Eddie.
Thanks a lot, Eddie. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Respect, Eddie. Wow.
Man, how about that, man? How about that, man? I ran my mouth enough, man. You guys want to speak, kids? Bishop.
I had no clue he was here, man. That's terrible. Like, he was clearly living somewhere in and around where I'm at. Like, there's no two ways about that. It's some of the we get a fair amount of football players over here. Usually, guys like Kerry Joseph, who don't quite make it doing what they're trying to do. Maybe they change positions and come down here. Weird guys to sort of throw out there is Rohan Marley. Rohan Marley used to play here, Bob Marley's son. Obviously Eddie. There's a few more. The list is a heck of a lot.
Lauryn Hill's baby daddy.
Lauryn Hill's baby daddy. Zion Williams' father. Yes. Zion Hill. But it's crazy small city. I'm so surprised that, again, growing up, he was on that team at that time, and how connected I am to his brother and the Bears. I had no clue, man. But at the same time, good on him for escaping that team, because he got out. He actually went to CFL and then went to NFL, which is super hard to do. That's not an easy task. Not a lot of folks, Warren Moon, you know what I mean? Like, and the guys who do it that way, you know who they are. I think Calais Campbell as well. There's a couple of guys like that who've Akeem Hicks, who've come to Canada, made a bit of a name for themselves, and then made it back out to the NFL. Super interesting. And I had no clue. I had no clue he was here. Man.
Real quick, let me address Illinois Jones, because he had asked this. He wanted to ask this question. Illinois is asking, he wanted to ask Eddie, how do you feel about the running back position, devalue, and then having shorter careers, ? Positive or negative? That is funny that you brought that up, Illinois Jones, because that was the last question that I had for him. But I started getting the sense that we were holding on to him a little bit longer, and I didn't get that question in, but I definitely had it on my list, Illinois, to ask him that exact same question.
But don't worry, I just got off the phone. Eddie is, he's willing to come back in lieu of the $250,000. I'll be calling him, getting a hold of him soon, and we're going to have him back on so that he can. He described it as his handsome Payton mug. We will be able to see it, so we just got to work on that.
We'll get him together, Chris. We're gonna let you work on him, get him where he needed to be. I think it's just it's everybody of that age group and internet savvy. You know what I mean? It takes somebody to help them work around it, I guess.
Yep.
So Chris, we'll let Chris do that, man. I'd love to have him actually on here on the show so people can get a chance to see him.
Yeah, I wasn't in. I didn't realize he was actually in Pensacola. He was at some meetings. His fiance was at meetings, and I guess she's the technical force in his life. So we're gonna get her involved so we can make sure we get a video and audio provided. But what just a great guy, man. Is he not just don't you just get that he's just somebody I could sit around and just talk to that dude and sit on the porch all day.
I'm telling you, Chris, if you went down to the Jackson State campus, man, you think I was just talking crap when I said that the man, as a man, his reputation precedes him, man. He's a good dude, man. People swear by.
Well, you can tell why, man. Just spending a few minutes that we spent with him, you can tell he's just he's a great person. He's down to earth. He just sounds like a fun person to be around, man.
Man, you could just say he's just an everyday guy, man. But that was fun, man. I look forward to more interviews like that. I'm sure Eddie will be back on the show, man.
And listen, I apologize to everybody about the delay. I wasn't aware that he was out of town and that we'd have to do kind of a primitive way to get the broadcast, but we worked around it. It worked out, and I hope you guys could hear okay. The next time we have him on, which will be soon, we will definitely make sure that we have everything in order so he can be broadcast in the studio.
Appreciate you for everything you did behind the scenes to make that happen and make it sound as clean as it did. You know, given the circumstances, appreciate you for performing with that audible, man.
That's what I do, bro.
All right. Hey,
Chris, the
let's get
producer
some
extraordinaire.
Thank you,
let's get
sir.
some shout outs, Sean. Let's go on around the horn and get some shout outs before we get up out of here.
Sports owners and No Maniacs Unite. It was a really good show talking with Eddie Payton. It was, man, awesome. This brings back memories. And like you said, he's just a great guy. Thanks a lot for tuning in, folks. You guys, again, you guys cut day in and day out. All right, you guys keep it lit, keep the chat lit, keep it, keep us on our toes, and I truly appreciate it. Make sure if you're not following us, make sure you follow the Nomad Network, and make sure you follow Sports Zone Chicago's YouTube channel as well. We'd appreciate it. Make sure you follow Chicago Sports Podcast Network as well. All right, have a great day. Enjoy the beautiful weather.
Chris,
hey man, it's a good day. You can just talk to Mr. Payton. It's a good day. So, I appreciate everybody came. All you guys in the chat, I didn't get a chance to look or holler at my folks. But, hey, shout out to my peeps in the chat. I love you guys. Sean, it's always good to see you, my brother. Everybody be sure and go over to Sports Zone Chicago and give this man all the support he deserves. He's got great content. He's a good brother, and we want to throw love his way. Kids, as always, my Canadian friend, I love you. The Bishop. Man, I thought you had left there. I was going to have to drive out of Texas and get you. I'm glad you hung out. But, man, I always love being with you guys in the chat. Hey, it was, like I said, it was a good day. Bear down.
All right, Ice Cube.
go ahead, kid.
Who's that?
I want it.
Don't even do it. Don't do it, kid.
I'll leave it alone, man. I'll leave it alone.
I'm leaving the people.
Hey, No Maniacs, man. The chat was rocking and rolling today. I'm gonna give some weird shout outs as per normal. Today I'm gonna shout out Mr. Don Burr right at the top. Why? Because Don, every good podcast needs a punching bag. So thanks for coming out. Thanks for keeping it interesting in the chat. Dropping all sorts of trash talk, and we're getting right back at you. Big ups to everybody who got at you. So now I get to acknowledge the real folks out there. Illinois Jones, what's cracking? Jay Grizz, keeping it 100 and funny. My guy Plank, it's per normal, #1 No Maniac Plank. Evie Bear Down, mad jokes. Oliver Chapman, same token. Crimson, thanks for representing with us, Crimson. Jose Sanchez from Puerto Rico. We got it this time. We got it. Patty Laura. Hey, Patty, how you doing? King Booker World in the building as per normal. Good to see you, King. Man, it was some good jokes in there today. Booby, Mr. Mayhem, Mr. Shorty, Derek Carter, the other Daryl. Not my brother Daryl, but my other brother Daryl. And Bruha, my homie from Canada. Yo, the chat was hilarious today. Feel free to go back and take a look at just how we were just ripping Dawn. It was fun. Outside of that, man, got to talk to Eddie Payton today. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Big ups to Eddie, the athlete, and rest well to his brother. He's the GOAT, and y'all know who he is. Sweetness. Rest in peace, my brother. Bishop, on to you.
Well, this afternoon was an amazing afternoon, man. I tell you, No Maniacs and Sports Zoners, thanks again for hanging out with us as often as you do and as long as you do. Again, past an hour, but thanks for hanging out with us. To my special people, you know who you are, my man Stuart, Sophie, V-Dub, and the D. Those two, Stuart and V-Dub, are big-time Walter Payton fans, so I know just to them have a chance to listen to Eddie Payton, I know it just warmed their heart like it did mine. Rita, Felicia, City of Chicago, West Side, South Side, stand up. And hey, looky here. My heart is warm, but I'm going to tell you, I'm glad I was on mute because I was watching the chat, and you guys are hilarious, man. And I'm glad I was on mute because I don't think I would have been able to contain myself. Poor Don Burr. You still suffering from head damage, brother. I get it, but it's okay. But get ready, because September's coming. Anyway, I'm going to pass it off. But before I do, to my guys on the panel, as always, I love chopping it up with you guys each and every day. Super back, the producer extraordinaire, Mr. Chris, Ted, and Brian in the back, Mr. Quiet himself, and Nomad. Yes, sir, Nomad. Once again, thank you, brothers, for chopping up with me today. And it was just a wonderful time to sit back and hear those great stories about Eddie Payton. And it just makes you reminisce and realize just how great his brother Walter Payton was. And I know that that gentleman is shining down. He's always smiling, and he's always blessing the Chicago Bears. And we hope that this year will be a super blessing upon this team. But more importantly, I'm going to go ahead and pass it up. But before I do, everybody have a great rest of your day. Enjoy the weather wherever you're at. Because where I'm at, it's nice and sunny. And it's in the high 70s.
It's sunny too here, so shut up.
Yeah, but we're high
It's even
70s,
sunny in
low
Canada.
80s. Oh my God. Well, hey, enjoy, everybody. Y'all be blessed. Be safe this evening as you're traveling home. And God bless everybody. Nomad to you, my brother.
Must be the Hadron Collider.
Everybody, thank you guys. Thank you guys, all the whole panel, Sean, Chris, Bishop, and the Canuck, man. Appreciate you guys for everything you brought to the show. But you guys in the chat, please listen to Jay Greer's. We are on a push to 2,000. Jay Greer's, listen to what he's saying. Help us get to 2,000 subs before draft day. And also, don't forget to share the content. I don't say that enough. We need people to share the live content so that people see it. The more you do it, the faster we'll get to those 2,000 subs. And we need to get the same kind of energy for Sean over at Sports Zone Chicago. But please listen to Jay Greer's and give us, even if you haven't yet, please consider giving us a sub. And if you have not yet and you didn't smash the like button, please don't disappoint us like that, man. You guys are too good to us not to stop for a second and smash that like button for us, man. We really need you to do that. And so, hey, man, I absolutely love this conversation. I really do respect Eddie Payton. I really do know people that know Eddie Payton personally. And he is just as good a man as he sounded like, and gracious as he sounded like in real life, man. That was no joke. I actually know people that know him. And I just appreciate him as a human being, the kind of human being that he is, man. Football player aside, man, just a great individual. And I'm just glad that, he's a treasure to us. You know how many people of his age, he's 72 years old, that don't have their minds anymore. Wow. They don't even have their minds, especially after playing this violent sport that we all love. They don't even have their minds anymore. The fact that he can sit here and be able to articulate what it was like during that era for a lot of us, it's just nostalgia of it. When you hear it from the horse's mouth being described to you in its fullest, and being the brother of the greatest that I think that ever laced them up. And you might get some arguments from some people about who they think is the greatest. I think maybe I got some Homer in me, but I think Walter Payton is the best football player that ever laced them up.
No argument.
And his brother that inspired him, you know how much of a treat that was we just got, that can tell you about all the things that made Walter what he is. I mean, it's an absolute, I don't think you guys understand how much of an absolute treat that was, but I can really appreciate it. And I know a lot of you guys can too. And so I just want to say thank you guys in the chat for your questions, your energy, and always bringing what you bring to the community. We love you guys, man. We don't say it enough. And I'll never be able to say it enough. We love the kind of community that you guys help us create. So thank you all for being the people that you are. But before we get out of here, I got to leave you guys with these famous words: love, peace, and hair grease, y'all.
And for the second time today, I'm going to play the outro.
Tri-City, stand up. Yay, yay.